There is one thing that for me is very relevant about what I do. It's the passion for what I do. So it's the passion to share the knowledge and the passion I have about project management. My career started maybe in a different way or an opposite way. I'm a chemical engineer, and I studied some of the tools and techniques around project management. And when Microsoft started releasing in more broadly Microsoft project, I started digging into the tool and saying, what is interesting? So I started using the tool to understand later the technique behind that. And then I said, look, it's so cool, these bars and these networks. I want to study more about that. And then I discovered the Project Management Institute and that they provide knowledge. And then in 1998 in Long Beach, I went my first time to the PMI Global Congress. And since then, I never missed a single one. And then I said, this is very cool. I think this can be something that I can take as a profession for me. I said, I think I should invest on that. And then I started investing on that. I was volunteer and I brought the Project Management Institute as a chapter to my state, Minas Gerais state. I'm Brazilian, by the way. So I decided to start creating a community in Brazil around project management. And we supported with several colleagues the creation of the translation, an official translation of the Pmbok guide. It was a very cool project, and we made this available. And this was like a seed for PMI to translate to several languages. In 1998, I released my first book that was a combination of Microsoft project and the technique. And this was my first book. Today I have 15 books published. Some of them translated into different languages, and they cover different topics, from earned value management to Microsoft project, to a practical guide, to project planning, to project management conceptual books. So I decided to start publishing articles and studying that and sharing this knowledge. So I had the chance with two partners to start a business that went very well in Brazil. And one of the areas of this business was related to project management. And then from 1995, when I started, up to 2006, I did this. So the business was very sound, very big, very interesting, with a good business. But in 2006, I decided to say, look, I need to go international. I need to open my mind to different things. So in 2006, I decided to leave the company. So I sold my shares and I decided to work myself in doing mostly consulting and for capital projects, for large capital projects. So I did works in Angola for oil companies, so for very capital intensive, applying the techniques I learned with PMI in the project management with the Pmbok into real world examples, into real challenges. In 2007, I was elected board member of PMI, volunteer board member. And then in 2009, I became the first Latin America chairman of the Project Management Institute. And I took this career up to 2012, so around 6 years doing this. And then in 2012, I received an invitation to become the director for infrastructure and project management at the United Nations, the United Nations Office for Project Services. And for the first time, I had the chance to do something that was not necessarily to improve profit of my clients, but it's to do something that has a massive intangible value to help people in need. And my wife was a key supporter of that. She said, it's the first time you had the chance to do something and apply your tools, your techniques, and your drive and your passion to do something that is not money related. So I was expecting to stay 1 year, 1 year and a half. I stayed 4 years in Denmark. Was one of the most interesting projects in my life in terms of project management. I had to apply Pmbok, Prince 2, everything together. It was such a nice time for me to apply in real life examples, refugee camps, hospitals, roads. It was a very cool moment for me. And then in 2016, I decided it's enough. My plan was to stay 2 years, and then I stayed much more than that. And then I came back, and at any time I left my company. So I came back to the consulting service, and then I took a role as a leader, as the executive director of one initiative led by PMI together with BCG and several other institutions to become a think tank on strategy implementation, to bridge the gap between ideas and results, paper and reality. And this was a perfect fit for who I am. I'm a doer. I love doing things. I love doing things. And this is exactly what I'm doing today. And the passion, for example, the opportunity for me to share a course like this and to share the knowledge is priceless. And I do that with my website. So I have a blog that I share content widely, from articles to podcasts. I have more than 4 million views on my podcast, more than 450 podcasts available. I try to publish almost every week. So this kind of, and it's something like, it's very rewarding for me to create things, and very rewarding to see when people use that. And this is the reason for all these courses, is to share the knowledge. Unfortunately, I have a very limited time because I travel a lot to give lectures face to face. So then I decided to start this, creating these options where people can have this contact with what I know in a different way, in an online way. And for me, it's a fantastic experience.